The champagne glass shattered against marble, crystal exploding like stars across the floor of Seoul's most exclusive wedding venue. Amara Johnson's palm still stung from the impact. Not from the glass, but from the slap she'd just delivered across Yoon Jae-Sung's face in front of 300 witnesses. His head had barely moved, but the room had gone completely, terrifyingly silent. Jae-Sung's dark eyes fixed on her with an intensity that made her knees weak, one hand slowly rising to touch his reddening cheek. His lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile, something far more dangerous. "Well," he said softly, his English perfect and cold as winter. "That was unexpected. Before we go further, hit like and subscribe. You won't want to miss what happens next." But it actually began 3 days earlier. Amara had been in Lagos when the message came through. Her phone lit up with a video call from Ji-woo, her best friend, the woman who'd literally saved her life 2 years ago when Amara had shown up at the Korean restaurant where Ji-woo worked, covered in bruises from her ex-boyfriend and nowhere else to go. Ji-woo had hidden her in the stockroom, called the police, and then helped Amara file the restraining order that finally gave her freedom. They'd stayed close even after Ji-woo moved back to Seoul. Weekly video calls, constant messages, shared dreams about the future. So, when Ji-woo's face appeared on the screen looking pale and frightened, Amara knew immediately something was wrong. "Amara, I need you," Ji-woo whispered in English, glancing over her shoulder like she was afraid of being overheard. "I'm getting married in 3 days, in Seoul. Can you come? Please? I need someone there who's actually on my side." "Married? Ji-woo, you never mentioned a boyfriend. Who? I can't explain over the phone. Just please, come. I'll send you a ticket right now. Please, Amara, you're the only person I trust." The desperation in her friend's voice made Amara's decision instant. "Send the ticket. I'm coming." 24 hours later, Amara landed at Incheon Airport with a small suitcase and a growing sense of unease. Ji-woo had sent a first-class ticket, which was strange considering she'd been working as a restaurant manager the last time they'd talked. The car that picked Amara up was a Mercedes with a driver who barely spoke, and the hotel was 5-star luxury that made Amara's teacher's salary feel laughable. When she finally met Ji-woo at a cafe in Gangnam, her friend looked like a ghost. Thinner than Amara remembered, with dark circles under her eyes and hands that shook when she lifted her coffee cup. "Tell me what's happening," Amara said, gripping Ji-woo's trembling fingers. "Who are you marrying? And why do you look terrified?" Ji-woo's eyes filled with tears. "My father gambled. For years, apparently. He owed money to the wrong people. The Crimson Dragons, they're called. A criminal organization. When he couldn't pay, they came for me instead." Amara's blood ran cold. "No, Ji-woo, we need to call the police. We need to—" "The police can't help. These people own half the police." Ji-woo wiped her eyes roughly. "They gave me a choice. Marry their boss, and the debt is forgiven, or refuse and my entire family pays in ways I can't even say out loud. My little brother is only 14, Amara. They showed me pictures of what they'd do to him." "So you're being sold." Rage burned through Amara's chest. "Like property. In 2024. This is insane." "His name is Yoon Jae-Sung. He's 33, runs the Crimson Dragons, and apparently decided he needs a wife for business legitimacy or something. I'm just convenient. The wedding is tomorrow at the Shilla Hotel. Very public, very expensive, very much a display of his power." Amara's mind raced. "We run. Tonight. I'll get us to the Nigerian embassy. They're watching my family, my mother, my brother. If I run, they die. It's that simple." Ji-woo's voice broke. "I just needed you here because when I walk down that aisle tomorrow, I need to see one face that doesn't want me to be there. One person who knows this is wrong. Can you do that for me? Can you just be there?" Amara wanted to scream, wanted to flip the table and burn the world down. Instead, she squeezed her friend's hands and said, "I'll be there. I promise." The Shilla Hotel's grand ballroom was obscene in its luxury. Crystal chandeliers that probably cost more than houses, flower arrangements that could have fed villages, and 300 guests in designer everything, all gathered to watch a woman be sold. Amara sat in the back row, wearing the simple navy dress she'd packed, feeling rage build with every passing minute. The guests weren't celebrating, they were watching. Like this was a business transaction, a merger, a demonstration of power. When the doors opened and Jiwoo appeared in a white wedding dress, Amara's heart shattered. Her friend looked beautiful and broken. The dress was exquisite, probably custom-made, but Jiwoo wore it like a funeral shroud. Her steps down the aisle were measured, mechanical, the walk of someone who'd given up. And at the altar, waiting with his back to the guests, was Yoon Jae-Sung. When he turned to watch his bride approach, Amara got her first real look at him. He was tall, probably 6 feet, with sharp features that looked carved from ice. His black hair was styled perfectly, his tuxedo fit like it had been painted on, and everything about him screamed wealth, power, and danger. He was handsome in the way venomous things were beautiful. You couldn't help but stare even as your instincts screamed to run. But it was his eyes that stopped Amara's breath. Dark, cold, completely empty of emotion as he watched Jiwoo walk toward her fate. He felt nothing. This woman's terror, her destroyed life, he felt nothing. The ceremony began. The officiant spoke in Korean, then English for the international guests. Standard wedding words that felt like mockery given the circumstances. Jiwoo's hands shook so badly that Jae-Sung had to steady them when the ring moment came. "If anyone has objections to this union," the officiant said, his voice carrying through the silent room, "speak now or forever hold your peace." No one moved. 300 people sat silent, complicit in this atrocity. Amara found herself standing before her mind caught up to her body. All eyes turned to her. The officiant looked confused. Jae-Sung's head turned slowly, his expression shifting from bored indifference to sharp attention, and Jiwoo's face went white with terror. "Amara, sit down," Jiwoo whispered urgently. "Please." But Amara was already moving. Down the aisle, her heels clicking against marble, her heart hammering so hard she thought it might break through her ribs. She had no plan. No idea what she was doing. Just rage and righteousness and the absolute certainty that she couldn't watch this happen. She reached the altar and turned to face Jae-Sung directly. Up close, he was even more intimidating. Taller, broader, radiating the kind of authority that made people instinctively submit. His eyes narrowed slightly as he studied her, and Amara saw his bodyguards moving closer from the shadows. "You can't do this," she said, her voice carrying through the silent ballroom. Her Nigerian accent thickened with emotion. "You can't force someone to marry you. This isn't the Dark Ages. This is human trafficking. This is slavery. And I won't stand here and watch you buy a woman like she's property." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Jae-Sung's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. Surprise, maybe, or interest. "Miss Johnson," he said, and the fact that he knew her name sent ice down her spine. "You're making a scene." "Good. Someone should. This whole room should be screaming. Instead, you're all just sitting here, watching a crime happen in designer clothes." "Amara, please," Jiwoo grabbed her arm. "You don't understand. If you interfere, they'll hurt my family. Please, just go sit down." "I understand perfectly." Amara turned back to Jae-Sung. "You're a monster who uses fear and debt to control people. You're a coward who can't find a wife through normal means, so you have to buy one. You're..." That's when she slapped him. She didn't plan it. Her hand just moved, palm connecting with his cheek with a crack that echoed through the ballroom like a gunshot. The room went silent. Not the polite silence of before, but the absolute silence of 300 people holding their breath, waiting for violence. Jae-Sung's head had barely moved from the impact. Now he turned it slowly back to face her, his hand rising to touch his reddening cheek. His eyes were no longer cold. They burned with something that made Amara's survival instincts finally kick in. Too late to matter. "Well?" he said softly. "That was unexpected." Men in black, suits materialized from the shadows, surrounding Amara. She heard guns being drawn, heard Jiwoo sobbing, heard gasps from the audience. This was it. She was going to die in a Seoul ballroom in her navy dress, and at least she'd die having done the right thing. But Jae-Sung raised one hand, and his men froze. "Everyone out," he said, his voice carrying absolute authority. "Weddings canceled. Guests, thank you for coming. The reception will proceed without the ceremony. Enjoy the food you didn't pay for." Chaos erupted. Whispers became shouts. People stood, moved, but Jae-Sung's security was already herding them toward the exits. Jiwoo tried to reach Amara, but 2 guards blocked her path. Within 5 minutes, the ballroom was empty except for Amara, Jae-Sung, and 6 of his men positioned at the exits. "So," Jae-Sung said conversationally, circling Amara like a predator studying prey. "You flew all the way from Lagos to save your friend. Admirable. Stupid, but admirable. Tell me, Miss Johnson, do you always charge into situations you don't understand?" "I understand enough. You were forcing Jiwoo into marriage. That's all I need to know." Forcing. He said the word like he was tasting it. Interesting perspective. "I offered her family a way out of a debt they couldn't possibly repay. She accepted. That's called a transaction. That's called coercion. Slavery with paperwork." Jae-Sung stopped in front of her, close enough that she could smell his cologne, something expensive and dark. "You have courage. I respect that. You also have no idea how much danger you're in right now. Do you know how many people would kill to be in your position? Close enough to strike me and live to talk about it? Are you going to kill me?" Amara lifted her chin, refusing to show fear even as terror clawed at her throat. "I'm considering it." He tilted his head. "But that seems wasteful. You clearly care about your friend. So let's make a deal." "I'm not making deals with criminals." "You will if you want Jiwoo to walk out of here alive." His smile was sharp as broken glass. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to take her place." Amara's mind blanked. "What? You wanted to save her so badly? Congratulations. You can. Right now. Marry me instead of her, and I'll release her family's debt completely. She goes free. Her mother, her brother, all safe. All you have to do is sign the papers and become my wife for 1 year." "You're insane." "I'm practical. I need a wife for business reasons. Legitimacy, social standing, that sort of thing. Jiwoo was convenient. You're..." He studied her with those calculating eyes. "More interesting. So what will it be, Miss Johnson? Save your friend and spend a year as Mrs. Yoon, or refuse and watch what happens to everyone you came here to protect? You're giving me the same choice you gave her. That's not a choice." "No," Jae-Sung agreed. "But it's the only one you're getting. You have 60 seconds to decide." Amara's mind raced. This couldn't be happening. This wasn't real life. But Jiwoo's terrified face flashed through her memory, and she thought about her friend's 14-year-old brother, and her mother, and all the people who would suffer if Amara said no. "If I agree," she said slowly, "you let them go. All of them. Immediately. And you don't touch Jiwoo again. Done. And after a year, I'm free. No extensions, no changing the terms. Agreed." 1 year, then you walk away with enough money to start whatever life you want. I want it in writing. A real contract. Jae-Sung's smile widened. Negotiating with me. You're either brilliant or suicidal. I haven't decided which. He pulled out his phone, typed rapidly. My lawyer will have contracts ready within the hour. Anything else? Yes. Amara stepped closer, lowering her voice. I want to know why. You could have any woman. Why force this? For a moment, something flickered across his expression. Something that might have been vulnerability if it weren't gone so fast. Because women who choose me want my money or my power. They smile and lie and pretend. I'd rather have someone who hates me honestly than loves me falsely. His eyes held hers. And you, Amara Johnson from Lagos, you definitely hate me. That's refreshingly real. I do hate you. Good. Hold on to that. It'll make the year more interesting. He gestured to one of his men. Bring Ji-woo back. Let her say goodbye. Ji-woo returned, still in her wedding dress, her face streaked with tears. When she saw Amara, she ran, nearly tripping over her skirts. What did you do? She sobbed, gripping Amara's arms. What did he make you agree to? I'm taking your place, Amara said quietly. You're free. Your family's free. It's done. No, Amara, you can't. You don't know what he is, what he does. I know enough, and I'm not letting you sacrifice yourself when I can stop it. You're sacrificing yourself instead. For a year. Then I'm free. Amara hugged her friend tightly. Go home. Be safe. Live your life. That's all I need from you. I'll find a way to save you. I'll go to the authorities. You'll do nothing. Jae-Sung interrupted, appearing beside them. Your family's debt is cleared as of this moment, Miss Park. But if you breathe a word of our arrangement to anyone, authorities, friends, social media, the deal is void, and we revisit the original terms. Understand? Ji-woo nodded, tears streaming. Good. Now say your goodbyes. My bride and I have paperwork to sign. The contracts were brought to a private room in the hotel. 50 pages of legal language that basically said Amara belonged to Yoon Jae-Sung for 12 months. She would live in his home, appear at his side for social functions, play the role of devoted wife in public. In exchange, she'd receive a monthly stipend of 10 million won, about $7,500 USD, full medical coverage, and a lump sum of 500 million won, about $375,000 USD, when the year ended. It was more money than Amara had ever imagined having. It was also a prison sentence disguised as a paycheck. She signed with shaking hands, and Jae-Sung signed beside her without hesitation. Welcome to the family, Mrs. Yoon, his lawyer said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Don't call me that, Amara said flatly. You'll get used to it, Jae-Sung said. He stood, buttoning his tuxedo jacket. We're leaving now. My driver will take you to collect any belongings from your hotel. You'll move into my home tonight. I haven't agreed to. You signed the contract. The contract says you live with me. Therefore, you're coming home with me. He paused at the door. Unless you'd like to renegotiate? Perhaps you'd prefer I visit Ji-woo's family after all? Rage burned through Amara's veins, but she swallowed it. Fine. Let's go to your house. Penthouse, he corrected. I don't do houses. Of course he didn't. The penthouse was in Hanam-dong, one of Seoul's most exclusive neighborhoods. The building's security was military grade. Guards, cameras, biometric scanners. The penthouse itself occupied the entire top floor and was exactly what Amara expected. Cold, modern, expensive, and soulless. Floor-to-ceiling windows, minimalist furniture in blacks and grays, art that probably cost millions but felt empty. It looked like a magazine spread, not a home. Your room, Jae-Sung said, opening a door to reveal a bedroom larger than Amara's entire apartment back in Lagos. Bathrooms through there. Closets stocked with clothes in your size. Yes, I had you researched. Dinner's at 8 if you're hungry. Otherwise, stay in your room. I have business to handle. Just like that? You marry me and then ignore me? Would you prefer I pay attention to you? His smile was cold. Careful what you wish for, Mrs. Yoon. He left, closing the door with a soft click. Amara stood alone in the luxury prison, her hands still shaking with adrenaline and rage. She walked to the window and looked out at Seoul spreading below like a circuit board of lights. What had she done? Her phone buzzed. A message from Ji-woo. Thank you. I love you. I'm so sorry. Please survive this. Amara typed back. I will. Take care of yourself. Don't worry about me. Then she sat on the edge of the massive bed and let herself cry. For her freedom. For the year ahead. For the terrifying man she'd just married who looked at her like she was a problem to be solved rather than a person to be known. Behind her, the door opened again. Jae-Sung stood in the doorway, changed into black silk pajama pants and a t-shirt that revealed arms marked with scars. In this casual outfit, he looked almost human. Almost. Why are you crying? He asked, sounding genuinely curious. Why do you think? Because you're trapped. Because you hate me. Because you've traded your freedom for your friends. He walked in, uninvited, and sat in the chair across from the bed. But you made that choice. Own it. I made the choice you forced me into. No one forced you to slap me. No one forced you to volunteer as substitute bride. You could have sat quietly and let Ji-woo marry me. But you didn't. You acted. That was your choice. Are you seriously trying to make this my fault? I'm trying to make you understand that you're not helpless. You're not a victim. You're a woman who saw injustice and decided to fight it. Consequences be damned. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. I respect that. I respect you, even though you hate me. I do hate you. You've said, multiple times. He studied her with those unsettling dark eyes. Tell me about Lagos. About your life before this. Why do you care? Because you're my wife for the next year. I should know who I married. I'm a teacher, Amara said shortly. Primary school, English and social studies. I live in a small flat in Yaba with my younger sister while we save money to buy our own place. I like jollof rice and Nollywood movies and Sunday church services where everyone dresses up. I wanted a simple, quiet life. And then I came here and ruined everything by trying to help a friend. You didn't ruin everything. You saved your friend. At what cost? Jae-Sung was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, I'll make you a promise, Amara. I won't force you to do anything you don't want to do. The contract says you have to live here and appear in public as my wife. It doesn't say anything else. Your room has a lock. Use it if you want. I'm not a rapist. I'm a criminal, but I have standards. How reassuring. It should be. Most men in my position wouldn't offer you that courtesy. He stood. Get some rest. Tomorrow I'll show you around Seoul properly. You should see the city you'll be living in for the next year. I don't want to sightsee with you. Then consider it research. Know your prison before you try to escape it. He walked to the door, paused. For what it's worth? What you did today was brave. Stupid, but brave. Your friend is lucky to have you. After he left, Amara locked the door and collapsed onto the bed. She'd married a Mafia boss to save her friend. She had 12 months to survive. And somehow, impossibly, she'd have to find a way to keep her soul intact while living with a man who traded in darkness. God help her. The first month was a careful dance of avoidance. Jae-Sung ran his empire from home offices and late-night meetings. Amara explored Seoul during the days, always accompanied by a silent bodyguard named Mr. Kim, who spoke almost no English but was apparently under orders to keep her alive. She video called her sister back home, making excuses about a sudden job opportunity that she couldn't discuss yet. She checked on Ji-woo, who was rebuilding her life with trembling steps. She tried not to think about the year stretching ahead like a prison sentence. But at night, in the penthouse, she couldn't avoid Jae-Sung entirely. He ate dinner alone at the massive dining table, so she started eating in her room. He noticed immediately. "Join me," he said one evening, appearing at her door with a tray of food. "I'm not asking." They ate in silence for 10 minutes before Jae-Sung spoke. "You can't avoid me forever. We have a charity gala next week. Very public. You'll need to smile and pretend you're happily married." "I'm not an actress." "Learn. Your contract requires it." "My contract requires a lot of things I never agreed to." "You signed it." "Under duress." "Still counts." He set down his chopsticks. "Amara, I'm trying to make this bearable for both of us. But you have to meet me halfway. I'm not the villain you want me to be. You forced a woman into marriage by threatening her family. How is that not villainous?" "Because I didn't actually hurt anyone. Ji-woo is free. Her family is safe. You're living in luxury with more money than you've ever had. Yes, the circumstances aren't ideal, but everyone survived." "That's your defense? It could have been worse?" "Yes." He met her eyes directly. "Because in my world, it usually is worse. I gave you and Ji-woo the best possible outcome in a bad situation. That's more mercy than most would get." Amara wanted to argue, but something in his expression stopped her. He wasn't lying. He genuinely believed he'd been kind. By criminal standards. "Tell me about your world," she said slowly. "If I'm stuck in it, I should understand it." Jae-Sung's eyebrows rose. "Careful. Curiosity about my business is dangerous. Everything about you is dangerous. Answer the question." For the first time since she'd met him, Jae-Sung smiled. A real smile that transformed his face from coldly handsome to devastatingly beautiful. "All right, Mrs. Yoon. Let me tell you what you've married into." Over the next 3 weeks, Amara learned the shape of Jae-Sung's empire. The Crimson Dragons weren't just a gang. They were a network. Protection services, real estate, imports, and yes, the occasional illegal activity that Jae-Sung never specified but Amara could guess. He employed hundreds of people, controlled territory across Seoul, and commanded respect through a mixture of fear and loyalty. "I'm not a good man," he told her one night when they were both unable to sleep and ended up in the living room at 2 a.m. "But I'm not evil either. I have rules. No drugs, no human trafficking, no targeting civilians. The people who work for me do so by choice, and I pay them well. The businesses I protect stay protected. I'm what stands between chaos and order in parts of this city the police have given up on." "So you're a hero?" Amara's tone was skeptical. "No, I'm a necessary evil. There's a difference." "Is there?" "Yes." He turned to face her, and in the dim light from the city below, his expression was almost vulnerable. "A hero does good because it's right. I do what needs to be done because someone has to, and I'm willing to bear the weight of it." That's a convenient rationalization, maybe, but it's the truth I live with. He paused. "Tell me something, Amara. That ex-boyfriend Ji-woo helped you escape. What happened?" Amara tensed. "How do you know about that?" "I know everything about you. Remember? Background checks are thorough in my line of work." She should have been angry about the invasion of privacy. Instead, she found herself answering, "His name was Cheek. We dated for 2 years. He was charming at first, then controlling, then violent. The night I left, he'd put me in the hospital with a cracked rib. Ji-woo found me at her restaurant, hiding in the bathroom. She called the police, got me medical treatment, Help me file the restraining order. She saved my life. And where is Cheek now? Prison. 8 months for assault. Not long enough, Jae-Sung said flatly. For what he did to you, he should be dead. That's the difference between us. You think violence solves violence. It does. Permanently. He stood, moving to the bar to pour whiskey. Men like your ex don't change, Amara. They apologize, promise to do better, and then they hurt again. The only way to stop them is to make them too afraid to act or remove them entirely. That's not justice. That's revenge. Sometimes they're the same thing. He brought her a glass despite her not asking for one. Drink. It helps with the insomnia. Amara took the glass, their fingers brushing. Electricity sparked at the contact, and she saw Jae-Sung's eyes darken with awareness. We should go to bed, she said quickly. Separate beds, in separate rooms. Agreed. But he didn't move. Although you should know, the charity gala is in 2 days. You'll need to wear a gown, smile for cameras, and let me touch you. Nothing inappropriate, just couple things. Hand-holding, my arm around your waist, maybe a kiss for the photographers. Amara's heart stuttered. I'm not kissing you. The contract says I have to appear as your wife. It doesn't specify physical affection. Fine, no kissing. He took the whiskey glass back from her, his fingers lingering on hers a moment longer than necessary. But everything else is non-negotiable. We have to look believable, or questions get asked. Questions lead to investigations. Investigations lead to people finding out about your friend's father's debt. You don't want that. You're blackmailing me, again. I'm reminding you of what's at stake. There's a difference. Not much of one. Jae-Sung's smile was sharp. Get used to it, Mrs. Yoon. You're in the gray areas now. Black and white don't exist here. The charity gala was held at the Lotte Hotel in a ballroom that made the wedding venue look modest. Seoul's elite filled the space. Politicians, business moguls, celebrities, and criminals who hid behind legitimate facades. Amara wore a gown that cost more than 6 months of her teaching salary, deep emerald green that complemented her dark skin beautifully. Professional stylists had done her hair and makeup, transforming her into someone who looked like she belonged in this world of wealth and power. When she emerged from the dressing room, Jae-Sung's eyes widened slightly. The first genuine surprise she'd seen from him. You look... He paused, seeming to search for words. Stunning. Absolutely stunning. Don't, Amara said sharply. Don't pretend this is real. I'm not pretending anything. I'm stating a fact. He offered his arm. Ready to play the devoted wife? No, but I'll do it anyway. The gala was a performance. Amara smiled when needed, laughed at appropriate moments, and let Jae-Sung guide her through conversations with people who barely saw her as human, just an accessory to his power. She felt their eyes on her, assessing, judging. The whispers followed them. His new wife. Nigerian, I heard. Quite the surprise. Ignore them, Jae-Sung murmured in her ear as they danced to classical music. His hand was warm on her waist, professional but possessive. They gossip because they have nothing better to do. They're judging me. They're jealous of you. Every woman here has tried to catch my attention. You're the only one who succeeded by slapping me. His lips curved. It's rather legendary now. The woman who struck Yoon Jae-Sung and lived. I'm so glad I'm entertainment for Seoul's criminal elite. You're more than that. His hand tightened slightly on her waist. You're my wife. That means something in this world. It means you're protected, valued, untouchable. It means I'm property. No. His voice hardened. It means you're mine to protect, not mine to own. There's a difference. Before Amara could argue, a man approached. Older, silver-haired, with the kind of expensive suit that screamed old money. "Jae-Sung," he said in accented English, nodding respectfully. Then his eyes slid to Amara with something that made her skin crawl. "And this must be your new bride. She's quite exotic." Amara felt Jae-Sung's entire body tense. The temperature in their immediate vicinity seemed to drop 10 degrees. "Chairman Kwon," Jae-Sung said, his voice carrying a warning. "Choose your next words very carefully." "I meant no offense, simply observing that she's different from your usual type." "My wife," Jae-Sung said slowly, "is not a type. She's exceptional. And if you imply otherwise again, we'll have a conversation you won't enjoy." Chairman Kwon's face went pale. He bowed quickly and retreated. Amara stared at Jae-Sung. "You didn't have to defend me." "Yes, I did. You're my wife. That means I defend you. Always. Even from casual racism dressed as compliments." Something shifted in Amara's chest. She'd spent a month thinking of Jae-Sung as her captor, her enemy. But he'd just threatened a powerful man for disrespecting her. Not because the contract required it, but because he'd been genuinely angry on her behalf. "Thank you," she said quietly. "Don't thank me for basic human decency." His hand was still on her waist as they resumed dancing. "You deserve respect. Anyone who doesn't give it to you answers to me." The attack came as they were leaving the gala. One moment, they were walking through the parking structure toward Jae-Sung's armored Mercedes. The next, gunfire erupted, shattering glass and sending guests screaming. Jae-Sung moved with terrifying speed, shoving Amara behind him as he drew a gun from somewhere in his tuxedo jacket. His bodyguards materialized, returning fire, but the attackers were organized, coordinated. "Stay down," Jae-Sung shouted at Amara, who'd frozen in shock. But she wasn't down. She was standing, exposed, and one of the attackers had a clear shot. Everything happened in slow motion. The attacker raised his weapon, aimed at Amara. His finger tightened on the trigger. Jae-Sung threw himself in front of her. The bullet hit him in the shoulder, spinning him backwards into Amara's arms. Blood bloomed across his white tuxedo shirt, dark and spreading. His gun clattered to the ground. "No!" Amara caught him, staggering under his weight. "No, no, no, you're not dying, you're not—" "I'm fine," Jae-Sung gritted out, though his face was pale with pain. "Behind the car, now." More gunfire. His bodyguards were winning, pushing the attackers back. But Jae-Sung was bleeding, his blood hot and wet on Amara's hands, and terror clawed at her throat. She dragged him behind the Mercedes, her gown ruined with blood, her hands shaking as she pressed against the wound to slow the bleeding. "You idiot!" she sobbed. "Why did you do that? Why did you take the bullet for me?" "Because you're my wife." His words were slurred with pain. "And I protect what's mine." "I'm not yours. I'm just playing a role. You didn't have to—" "Yes." His hand came up to cup her cheek, leaving a bloody print on her skin. "I did. Because somewhere in the past month, you stopped being a role and became important." Amara's breath caught. His eyes were unfocused now, shock setting in. Blood was seeping through her fingers despite the pressure she was applying. "Stay with me," she begged. "Jae-Sung, stay with me. Don't you dare die." "Not planning to." His smile was weak. "But Amara, if I do, the contract becomes void. You're free. Take the money and run." "I don't want the money. I want you to live." "Why?" His eyes tried to focus on her face. "You hate me." Amara realized with shock that she couldn't finish that sentence. Somewhere between the late-night conversations and the defended insults, and now this, him taking a bullet meant for her, Her hatred had transformed into something far more complicated. I don't want you to die. That's all I know right now. Good enough, he whispered and passed out. The hospital was private, exclusive, the kind where doctors asked no questions about gunshot wounds. Amara sat in a sterile waiting room for 3 hours while surgeons worked on Jae-Sung, his blood still staining her hands, her dress, her soul. Mr. Kim sat beside her, silent and steady. Other members of the Crimson Dragons filled the waiting room, dangerous men who looked at Amara with something like respect. You stayed with him, Mr. Kim said finally in halting English. Could have run when shooting started, but you stayed, protected him even though he was bleeding. Of course I stayed. I'm not a monster. Boss would have understood if you ran. Would have been disappointed, but understood. Mr. Kim's weathered face softened slightly. You are good wife. Good woman. He chose well. He didn't choose me. He forced me. No. Mr. Kim shook his head. Boss could have had real wedding to Miss Park. Could have forced original bride. But the moment you slapped him, he knew. Knew you were different. Strong. Real. So he changed plans. Made you the bride instead. Amara stared. Are you saying he wanted me specifically? I'm saying boss always gets what he wants. And he wanted woman with courage to hit him. Mr. Kim smiled slightly. You are that woman. Before Amara could process that revelation, a surgeon emerged, and her heart stopped. Mrs. Yoon? Your husband is stable. The bullet missed major arteries. He'll need physical therapy and rest, but he'll make a full recovery. Relief hit Amara so hard she nearly collapsed. Can I see him? He's sleeping, but yes, this way. Jae-Sung looked vulnerable in the hospital bed, hooked to monitors and IVs. Someone had cleaned the blood from his face, changed him into a hospital gown. Without his usual commanding presence, he looked younger, almost boyish. Amara sat in the chair beside his bed and, without thinking, took his hand. His fingers twitched in her grip. His eyes opened slowly, unfocused at first, then finding her face. You're still here, he said, his voice rough from anesthesia. Where else would I be? Free. You could have run when I was unconscious. I could have. I didn't. Amara's thumb stroked across his knuckles. You took a bullet for me, Jae-Sung. You almost died protecting me. How could I leave after that? Because the contract says... Forget the contract. Just this once. Forget the stupid contract and accept that maybe, possibly, I stayed because I wanted to. Because you matter to me now. I don't know when or how it happened, but it did. Something raw and vulnerable crossed his expression. Amara, don't say anything you'll regret when the drugs wear off. She leaned forward, pressed a kiss to his forehead. Just rest. We'll figure out what this means later. It means I'm falling for you, he whispered. It means I was falling for you the moment you slapped me, and every day since has just made it worse. It means this contract marriage is becoming real for me, and I don't know what to do about it. Amara's breath caught. You're on pain medication. You don't know what you're saying. I know exactly what I'm saying. His eyes held hers, clear despite the drugs. I'm saying I want to keep you. Not because of a contract, not because you're convenient, but because you're brave and smart, and you see me, really see me, and you're not afraid. I'm saying I'm in love with you, Amara Johnson, and I have been since you called me a monster in front of 300 people. Jae-Sung, you don't have to say anything back. I know you still hate me. But I needed you to know. Needed you to understand that this stopped being business for me a long time ago. He closed his eyes, exhaustion pulling him back under. Within seconds, he was asleep again, his hand still holding hers. Amara sat in the darkened hospital room, her mind reeling. He loved her. The Mafia boss she'd been forced to marry, the man she'd spent a month resenting, had just confessed he was in love with her. And the terrifying part? She wasn't sure she hated him anymore either. Jae-Sung's recovery took 3 weeks. 3 weeks where Amara stayed at his side, bringing him books and food, bullying him into following doctor's orders, and slowly, carefully, letting her walls come down. "Tell me about Nigeria," he said one afternoon when cabin fever was making him restless. "I want to understand where you come from." So Amara told him. About Lagos traffic that defied physics, about markets bursting with color and noise, about her mother who died when she was young, and her father who'd worked himself into an early grave to give his daughters opportunities, about her sister Zainab who wanted to be an architect, about Sunday rice and dancing at weddings and the way the whole neighborhood came together when someone needed help. "It sounds beautiful," Jae-Sung said quietly. "It is, and terrible, and wonderful, and impossible, all at once." She paused. "Like you." His eyes met hers. "Am I still impossible?" "Yes, but maybe less terrible than I thought." "High praise from the woman who slapped me." "You deserved it." "I did." He reached for her hand, threading their fingers together. "Amara, when I'm healed, when things are back to normal, I want to renegotiate our contract." Her heart sank. "You're ending it early?" "No, the opposite. I'm asking if you'll consider staying beyond the year. Not because you have to, because you want to." "Jae-Sung, just consider it. No pressure, no threats, just think about whether what we have now is worth keeping." Amara looked at their joined hands, at the man who'd become so much more than her captor. "What do we have?" "I don't know yet." His smile was tentative, hopeful. "But I'd like to find out. If you'll let me." The answer came on a rainy Tuesday, 6 weeks after the wedding that never was. Amara was cooking jollof rice, the real kind, with ingredients she'd found at an African market in Itaewon, when Jae-Sung came home early. She heard the door, the sound of his shoes being removed, then his voice. "Something smells incredible." She turned to find him standing in the kitchen doorway, still in his suit, but with his tie loosened and his hair slightly mussed. He looked tired but happy, and something about the domesticity of the moment, him coming home to her cooking, made her heart skip. "Jollof rice," she said. "The Nigerian kind, not that Ghanaian nonsense." His smile widened. "Fighting words. I have Ghanaian business partners." "Then they have inferior taste in rice." She turned back to the pot, stirring. "Dinner's in 20 minutes. "Amara." His voice had changed, gone serious. "Look at me." She turned and found him closer than expected. Close enough to touch. "I want to renegotiate," he said quietly. "Right now. New terms." "Jae-Sung, we discussed this. I said I'd think about it." "I'm not talking about extending the contract. I'm talking about ending it. Completely." Her heart stopped. "You're letting me go?" "I'm asking you to stay freely. No contract. No obligations. No threats or blackmail or business arrangements. Just stay because you want to. Stay because you feel what I feel. Stay because this," he gestured between them, "has become real. And if I say no, then you walk away with the full payment, my protection for life, and the knowledge that I'll never stop you. But if you say yes..." He stepped closer, his hands coming up to frame her face with aching gentleness. "If you say yes, then we start over. For real this time. Dating, courting, whatever you want to call it. I want to earn you, Amara. Not buy you, not force you. Earn you." Tears burned in her eyes. "You took a bullet for me. I'd take 1,000 more. You defend me to powerful men. Always will. You learned to make Nigerian chin-chin because I mentioned missing it. YouTube tutorials helped. I'm still not very good. You're terrible at it, she agreed, laughing through tears. But you tried. You actually tried. Because you matter more than anything else in my world. His thumbs brushed away her tears. So what do you say, Amara Johnson from Lagos? Will you tear up our contract and give me a chance to court you properly? Will you let this cold, broken man try to deserve you? You already deserve me, Amara whispered. You deserved me the moment you chose to save Jiwoo instead of punishing me. You deserved me when you respected my locked door every night. You deserved me when you took that bullet without hesitation. She rose on her toes, closing the distance between them. And you deserve this. She kissed him. It was soft at first, tentative, exploring. Then Jae-Sung's arms came around her waist, pulling her closer, and the kiss deepened into something desperate and inevitable. All the tension of the past 2 months poured into it, the hatred that had become respect, the fear that had become trust, the forced proximity that had become something neither of them could name. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Jae-Sung rested his forehead against hers. Is that a yes? That's a yes to tearing up the contract. A yes to starting over. A yes to seeing where this goes. She pulled back enough to meet his eyes. But Jae-Sung, I'm not agreeing to marry you again. Not yet. You have to earn that properly this time. I will. He kissed her softly. I'll spend every day earning it. Good. Now let me finish dinner before the rice burns. Can I help? Can you cook? Not even a little. Then you can set the table and tell me about your day like a normal boyfriend. Boyfriend. He tested the word, smiling. I like it. As they moved around the kitchen together, Amara cooking, Jae-Sung attempting to help and mostly just getting in the way, she felt something she hadn't felt in months. Hope. Yes, he was still dangerous. Yes, his world was still darkness. Yes, there would be more threats, more violence, more nights when she'd have to remember that the man she was falling for was also a criminal. But he was her criminal. Her dangerous, complicated, surprisingly gentle man who'd given her the choice to leave and respected her enough to mean it. And she was choosing to stay. Epilogue. 1 year later. The proposal happened in Lagos. Jae-Sung had flown them to Nigeria for Zainab's architecture school graduation, a trip he'd planned in secret, coordinating with Amara's sister to make sure everything was perfect. After the ceremony, after the family dinner, after the dancing and celebration, he took Amara to Bar Beach at sunset. The ocean stretched endlessly before them, and the sky was painted in oranges and purples that no Korean sunset could match. Do you miss it? He asked, his arm around her waist. Home? Sometimes, Amara admitted, but home isn't just a place anymore. It's you. Wherever you are, that's home. Jae-Sung turned her to face him, and she saw tears in his eyes, the first she'd ever seen from him. Amara Johnson, he said, dropping to one knee in the sand. A year ago, you saved your friend by sacrificing yourself. You slapped me at my own wedding and changed my entire world. You stayed with me when you could have run. You loved me when I didn't deserve it. You made me want to be better, to be worthy of you. He pulled out a ring box, and the ring inside was stunning. A Nigerian jade stone, the exact green of her mother's favorite dress, set in platinum. This isn't a contract, he continued. This isn't obligation or force or business. This is me asking, freely and hopefully, if you'll marry me. Really marry me. Not because you have to, but because you want to spend your life with a reformed criminal who loves you more than anything in this world. Reformed? Amara laughed through happy tears. You still run the Crimson Dragons. With significantly more ethical guidelines now, you've been a terrible influence. The best kind of influence. So is that a yes? That's a yes to marrying you. A yes to building a life together. A yes to everything. She pulled him up and kissed him as the sun set over the Atlantic. I love you, Yoon Jae-Sung, even though you're still impossible. And I love you, soon-to-be Mrs. Yoon, even though you're still the only person brave enough to slap me. Later, at the family celebration, Zainab pulled Amara aside. Are you sure about this? Marrying him for real this time? I'm sure, Amara said, watching Jae-Sung charming her relatives with broken Yoruba he'd been secretly learning. He's not perfect. His world isn't safe. But he's mine, and I'm his, and that's enough. Then I'm happy for you. Zainab hugged her. Even if your love story started with the most dramatic wedding interruption in history. Everything worth having is dramatic, Amara laughed. I learned that from him. As the party continued around them, Amara looked at her ring. Proof that forced beginnings could become chosen forevers. That contracts could transform into real love. And that sometimes the man you slap becomes the man you spend your life with. It wasn't the fairy tale she'd imagined. It was better. Because it was real. The end. What would you have done at that wedding? Let me in the comments. Subscribe immediately. The next dangerous love story drops soon, and you need to hear it.